Erick, can you introduce yourself? Tell us who you are and what you do.
My name is Erick. I work for Drummond Limited down in Colombia, South America. I'm an industrial engineer from Georgia Tech, and I've been working in the supply chain for more than 4 years now. Drummond is a company that is engaged in the business of mining, processing, and selling coal around the world. They have customers in the U.S., in Europe, the Middle East, and they have one of the biggest open pits in South America.
What made you and your company decide that the SPSM certification was the right investment?
First of all, I like the guidance that you have through the whole process. Like, you are able to ask questions, and it's not only reading books and then taking an exam and that's it. Here you have somebody helping you understand the material. If you have any questions, the answer within 24 hours. That's a big help.
Do you have any examples of how what you learned in the SPSM certification process has led you to save your company money?
Absolutely. We have a supplier for water treatment chemicals, a single source supplier. We wanted to keep the same supplier because the quality of the chemicals and how vital it is to the power generation system, and all the best practices and negotiations that I learned were able to save over $2 million.
Wait a minute, you saved $2 million just on one of the things that you use the next level purchasing techniques for?
Yep, that's right.
Man, you must be feeling pretty good. You're pretty calm for somebody that just saved $2 million.
Yeah.
So if you saved your company over $2 million doing this, if all buyers in an entire purchasing department were to get certified at any company, what overall impact do you think it would have on savings for that company?
It should be a very huge impact. We purchase services and goods. For instance, in 2006, we spent more than $1 billion.
Wow.
So as little as 1%, that'll be, a huge amount of money.
So it could have a huge impact overall. So your enrollment in the Senior Professional and Supply Management Program costs a little over $1,100. How easy is it, do you think, for a company to get that money back in the form of savings that a buyer can achieve by applying what they learn? I mean, it sounds silly to say that in a way because we know you just saved $2 million, but just for any company, maybe they're not working with such large contracts as you might be. How hard do you think it would be for somebody to make up their investment?
It depends on the companies, but there is definitely an advantage of getting certified and applying all this knowledge. And it depends on the company.
Yeah, well, let me ask you this. I know you've had these big savings, the one big one where you saved a couple million. Do you have other little ones that you've done that might be smaller wins, but still, are worthy of note?
Yeah, sure. Over $100,000. That was on air filters for the turbines.
That was the savings that you had?
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. So we're in a very global marketplace today, and with vendors and trading partners coming from all corners of the world, and today's buyers are really dealing with suppliers from everywhere. But in most cases, the purchasing certifications are focused on just local markets. Understanding the importance of global suppliers and knowing the caliber of their purchasing counterparts, Next Level Purchasing has taken the lead in this field to make the SPSM certification globally accepted. And they've got employers in over 60 countries now and using this standard of excellence. But I have to say, it's all easy to say that in the marketing materials, but now it's time for a reality check. You are based in Colombia, South America. Just how universal are these principles that you learned in Next Level Purchasing? I mean, did you come into some where you just had to do some translating or figure out how to work for you, or was it pretty seamless? Were you able to use all of these techniques right away in your own local environment?
I guess most important of all is that the techniques that you apply, they work. It's only the environment that changes. Maybe here in Colombia, for instance, we like to talk about sports or events right before the negotiation, or talk about families and stuff, and then have at the middle of the meeting have a coffee or smoke or something like that. I guess that's the difference between countries or cultures.
I see. So the cultural aspects of it might be different, but when it comes down to looking at contracts, when it comes down to looking at the numbers, the kind of stuff that you learn from Next Level Purchasing, that doesn't change?
That doesn't change.
Well, tell me about the process of learning. I mean, how did you go about learning? You said that you didn't have much time down there. You needed to be able to have something that worked well. A lot of people might be concerned about how well they could learn in an online environment. Can you tell me a little bit about that from your standpoint?
Yeah, first of all, it was the first time that I was going to take a course online, so I didn't know how I was going to go. At the mine, we have shifts. There are like 10 days. You have to stay 10 days at the mine, and then you have 4 days for rest. I had to look for something where I had access to the material for only those 4 days, and that's how I got into SPSM.
So if you're working 10 days and then have 4 days off, that's like your 4 days are the 2 weekends most people would normally have kind of shoved together. It seems like that's a lot to ask for you to do the studying on your 4 days break, and so now you have to go in and do the studying. I mean, was it really hard? Was it difficult to commit that kind of time?
You have to have some discipline. So what I did is that during the 4 days, I'll study and I'll do all the quizzes. And then for the next 10 days, I'll be reading all the material and trying to remember what I just did the previous 4 days.
Now, you mentioned that you weren't sure how well you'd work in this environment, and one of the things you liked was that you were able to get response and support from people. So tell me a little bit about that. Can you think of any examples of times when you had questions and how they responded?
Every time that I had a question, I would email NLP, and I should get an answer within 24 hours. That was great. I would read the material and write down all the questions that I had, and then send only one email. And then within 24 hours, I'll have the answer, and that way I was guided through the whole process.
I would think that this might increase the kind of level of respect that you would get from your employer. I mean, has that happened to you? Have you noticed any difference?
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Boy, if I were an employer, I'd be pretty impressed. Have you gotten any comments back from them about what they think of you?
Absolutely. They're really glad that I took the class. You know, the certification is a plus, but it's mostly getting results and really applying what you learn on the material. And they're really happy with it.
How does it make you feel personally? I mean, does it give you a different level of confidence and your own kind of self-respect now having done this? I mean, do you approach your job a little bit differently with this certification in your pocket?
Absolutely. It gives me more confidence. I have achieved one of my educational goals. It really made me feel good. And I saw that when I was negotiating the contract on the $2 million savings contract, is that I could see it on the other part. When you talk with confidence and when you have all the information and you know how to manage the information, they see it. And I will use the word, they get scared, but I don't think that'll be the right word. But they know that they are dealing with somebody that is professional and who's looking for a result. It's a completely different approach.
So maybe it's not scared, but maybe it's respect.
That's correct.
You walk in and they recognize, this is a guy that knows what he's doing, and we better respect this process and pay attention. Is there any last thing that you'd like to share with anybody about your experience of working with Next Level or working with Charles Dominic?
It's been a great experience. You know, independent from the certification, even if I wasn't getting certified, it is a great experience. It's great material, and you can apply it. That's the most amazing thing. You can apply it and get results.